No, they
51.
don't. I think that what we need to do, being one that has voted against bailouts, I think what we need to do is put everything on the table. We know that there are a lot of just-in-time suppliers and manufacturers that are around these auto plants. We need to look at suspending cap gains. We need to look at what would happen if we had sales tax deductibility, which we have in Tennessee. We deduct that from our federal income tax filing. What would happen if you were to deduct sales tax from everybody's federal income tax filing and give consumers an incentive to go buy?
Well, let's ask the chairman of the Ways and Means Committee.
Yeah.
He's responsible for writing tax laws in the United States. So what do you think of that idea, Congressman?
Any idea that's going to bring relief to the American people and instead of just the bank executives is something we should talk about. I don't know whether we have enough time to have hearings on all of these things, but I do believe that the Congresswoman is right that we can't just throw the money out there. The question is, if the president wants to talk about this, he has to talk to the senators to make certain that we do have enough votes there to pass it. And that's where we ought to be talking about, not our differences, but how can we get out of this Congress? We got just one more week to go, and give some relief to the people who are unemployed, be able to protect some of the people from this terrible winter we're going to have, to give something in health care, and to make certain we try to bring some stability to employment. These are the people that are crying for some help. And so we can discuss all of these things, but we won't be able to get back until next January. I hope that this week we can discuss things in a bipartisan way and bring some relief to the automobile industry, no matter what compromises we have to make.
Basically 1 week of work you have before the Thanksgiving recess.
You're exactly right, Wolf, and we have to get to work on some of these issues. We have to look at the entire picture that we're dealing with distributors, with consumers, the energy issue. My goodness, we have to get the cost of energy down. We're looking at the $25 billion that had been put in place for retooling the auto industry.
Let me read to you, Congresswoman, what John Boehner, your leader, the minority leader in the House, said on Thursday. Spending billions of additional federal tax dollars with no promises to reform the root causes crippling automakers' competitiveness around the world is neither fair to taxpayers nor sound fiscal policy. And we heard something very similar from the ranking Republican on the Banking Committee in the Senate, Richard Shelby, earlier today as well. You agree with them?
I do agree with that, and I think that both Mr. Shelby and Mr. Boehner are correct on that. The American people are now finding out from Secretary Paulson he spent $250 billion, and there will be no return to the American people on that. AIG is into the federal government for over $315 billion. You had $323 billion that was spent before the $700 billion bailout. This is all on the taxpayers' back, and the taxpayers are getting very, very weary of this. Now, what we need to do
let me let Congressman Rangel respond to that. Go ahead, Congressman Rangel.
I think it's so sure the taxpayers are getting weary, and they should be, because all of the assistance is to the financial institutions. But we're there not to represent the banks, we're there to represent the people. And there are just millions of jobs that are dependent on the automobile industry. They're in Tennessee, they're in New York, they're all around this country. It would seem to me, rather than going into this debate in the last week of the session, that we should be talking about compromises about how can we help these people, how can we help the industry, how can we help the people, and for those out of work, to give them some